What's up, everybody? It's Carl's Collects Comics, and I'm back with another Friday feature. This week, I can't wait to help you get prepared for Disney Plus Day and the upcoming streaming shows by sharing with you my top 10 picks for Boba Fett comics that you should be picking up right now. So stay tuned. Alright, so Disney Plus Day is coming up on November the 12th. And with that coming up, and with us starting to see more promotional images from the Book of Boba Fett streaming series that's coming up, I figured it was a great time to look at the top 10 Boba Fett comics that you should be buying right now. So this list is, it's a little bit limited because there's not a ton of Boba Fett comics out there, but I feel like there's some great books on here that are just fun reads because he's such a cool character, but there's also some books on here that could see some gains with the show coming out, and I'm sure that it's going to last at least a couple seasons and possibly longer, and so I'm really looking forward to sharing these with you. So let's get started with it. So number 10 on my list is Star Wars Boba Fett Agent of Doom #1. Now this is a little one-shot story about Boba Fett taking on a bounty from an oppressed alien race. It's exactly the type of one-off story that would make an excellent basis for a standalone episode in a streaming series. It's one of those ones like in The Mandalorian when he helps that mother and her little frogling egg beings make it safely to their spot, and it takes up the whole episode. It's this one little story that's fairly self-contained, but it'll have some meaning later on. And this is exactly the type of story that it feels like when you're reading it, and I enjoyed it. You know, it wasn't the best story ever, but it was fun, and it was cool, and it was Boba Fett, so I recommended it. Number 9 on my list of Boba Fett comics that you should be picking up right now is Star Wars Age of Republic Jango Fett #1. So this is a little bit of an origin story that features a young Boba Fett with his father Jango Fett. Now we saw a little bit of their dynamic in the prequel trilogy of films, and we've seen other bits and pieces, but it's neat to see it in comic book form, and also especially in yet another one-shot. So I thought this might be a neat one that that somebody might want to pick up. These Age of Republic, Age of Rebellion one-shots that were released are great books to pick up because they're self-contained, and there's little nuggets of story and information and character in those that might be utilized later. So I think they're always a great pickup, at least to have a full set of them. Number 8 on my list is Star Wars Age of Rebellion Boba Fett #1, the second print. Now this is also a one-shot story that's tied into the entire timeline series. All right, but this second print only had about 2,500 copies ordered by retailers, making it an incredibly scarce book to have. Now, I don't know if you were aware of this book. I wasn't before researching, so I haven't looked that much into pricing on it. But when you're talking about 2,500 copies reordered of a later printing, man, those types of books are ghosts. And so this is one to keep your eye out for. Again, like I said, I wasn't aware of it before researching for this video, but it just looks like one of those types of books that you'd want to grab if you come across it. And what I've found helps me sometimes is I'll familiarize myself with certain comics, with certain covers, and then if I'm out in the wild and I'm looking around and I come across it, sometimes people don't know what they have, and you might come across this at like a half-price books or Second and Charles or some other type of store where they've got a bunch of comic books and nobody really has gone through them and picked out what the keys are, and you might come across a book like this. So, keep an eye out for it. And while this story might not end up being adapted at all, it's well worth picking up if you can find it for $20 or under, just because of the scarcity, and especially if it's in high grade, because those are good books to have. Number 7 on my list goes back to the original Marvel series, and this is Star Wars number 44, and this is the first appearance of Slave One Boba Fett ship. Now, I guess it's been renamed since then. I read a note that it had been renamed in 2021 when this video is shot. I am not aware of what the new name for the ship is. I guess it was the previous name was offensive, and I'm not sure what. Like I said, I'm not sure what it's been renamed to. But the first appearance of that iconic ship is a really big deal, as far as I'm concerned. And it's got such a cool design, even if the name's dated and no longer appropriate. I mean, this is one of the most recognizable ships. It's the top three. To me, is the Millennium Falcon, the X-wing fighter, and then Boba Fett ship. And those three are, they're just so iconic in design, and a bunch of the other ships, I guess the fourth would be the TIE fighter, but a lot of the other ones just kind of all blend together. But the Boba Fett ship really stands out as being a very unique design, very unique layout, and seeing it pop up again in the prequel trilogy was kind of neat. So this is the first appearance of that ship. Number 6 on my list is Star Wars Tales number 7, which features the first appearance of Aelin Vel, who's revealed to be Boba Fett's daughter, and she's shown as a baby in a hologram. It also features the first appearance of Sentis Vel, a bounty hunter and the mother of Aelin. Is this even canon at this point? It makes sense that Boba Fett would have a child somewhere out there in the galaxy. But would they decide to explore this in a story arc or an episode of the new show? Maybe, maybe not. But I don't think they would go into this because this is such an obscure reference. But, again, you never know. And as far as I'm aware of, this is the only offspring of Boba Fett that were shown in comic books. There might be some newer stuff that I'm not aware of or that I haven't read. But this is kind of an interesting... it's interesting, and it could also lead to some sort of tragic backstory for the character, where maybe he had a daughter and the mother of the daughter, and he lost them both, and that kind of set him on his path. And so I don't know, we might see it referenced in some way, but these Star Wars Tales books are really neat ones to add to the collection if you're a Star Wars fan. Number 5 on my list is Star Wars Boba Fett Enemy of the Empire number 1, and I'm spotlighting number 1 even though it is a multi-part miniseries that you can pick up. Now, this is a cool story featuring Darth Vader giving a job to Boba Fett, but the chances of anything happening with this miniseries are slim to none in terms of adaptations. But if you're a Boba Fett fan, you may want to check this out and see what you think. Timeline-wise, it takes place before A New Hope, so it's highly unlikely that it would be referenced, but sometimes it's just fun to pick up a miniseries like this simply for the enjoyment of the art form, the story, and the art. If you have this one, let me know in the comments because I'm definitely considering hunting this one down for the personal collection. I like Star Wars. And I think Boba Fett's one of the cooler characters. Not the coolest, but he's one of the cooler characters in the mythos. And I wouldn't mind picking this one up, just to read it and just to have it. Number 4 on my list of Boba Fett comics that you should be buying right now is Boba Fett Overkill number 1. Now this is another Boba Fett one-shot with excellent cover art by none other than Adam Hughes. Research indicates that less than 27,000 copies were ordered by retailers. A lot of these one-shot storylines are A, really fun reads, and B, possibilities for adaptation, though possible, but not necessarily likely. Now I say pick them up if you can find them inexpensively and enjoy them, because that's what comics were created for us to read and to enjoy and just sit back and enjoy a really good story reading these one night. So number 3 on my list is Star Wars number 42. Now this is the first appearance of Boba Fett in a standard US comic book. It's also the first cameo appearances for Emperor Palpatine, Dengar, Bosk, IG-88, and Zuckuss. Now those are all, those last 4 are all bounty hunters. Now this is the most well-known Boba Fett key, so it's well worth mentioning on this list. You can still find plenty of copies for under $500, especially in the 8.0 to 8.5 range, which is what I'm focusing on personally. Now, I'm not chasing near mint plus copies of this book. This is a major Star Wars key, and it's just going to continue going up in value. Now, if you come across a copy for under $100, it's kind of a no-brainer, so long as it's complete and not completely torn up. I know that many would expect that this would be the book that would be number one on my list, but I think that both as a casual, well, I don't say casual fan, but as a fan, I'm not a super fan. I'm not even a hardcore fan. I'm just a fan of Star Wars. Putting this much into a key issue is probably not something I'm going to do, especially not if I'm not going to see larger gains down the road, and I don't know how much more room this particular book has to grow, because it is very, very expensive at this point. With raw and key copies going for over, for hundreds of dollars, and approaching 1,000 at some of the high grades. But I'm going to get to why it's not number one on my list in just a minute. So number 2 on my list of the top 10 comic books, of Boba Fett comic books you should be picking up right now, is Star Wars number 81. Now, this is the issue where Boba Fett escapes from the Sarlacc pit. Now, it's probably the single most impacting story as far as previous canon goes. This key book is well worth picking up, as his escape will no doubt be featured in the new show, and if you're a Boba Fett fan, you'll definitely want to read and hold on to this book. As I've said before on the channel, I always spec on story, and the story of Boba Fett escaping from the Sarlacc pit, how he escaped from what most of fandom believes to be his death, it's canon at this point, because it's legend at this point. I don't see them changing it up. I mean, yeah, it's going to be different from what's in the comic book, but this key moment for the character is probably his most defining out of anything that we've seen in comic books, because it tells us so much about the character that that we thought he was dead, but he found a way to survive, and found a way back from death, and was able to stop this creature from killing him that was going to digest him over thousands of years. And so it's a huge, as far as I'm concerned, it's very undervalued, huge key in my opinion, and it's one that I would be, I'd pick up a copy or two at this point, and just and see where the series goes, because I really do think we're going to see it referenced, and hopefully we'll get to see like how he actually did it in the show and see them dramatize it, because I think it's going to look really cool. Okay, so the number 1 comic on my list of top 10 Boba Fett comics you should buy now is Marvel Comics Super Special number 16. Now, I mentioned when I talked about number 3, which was Star Wars number 42, about why this one was higher than that one. And the reason for this being is that this is the first appearance of Boba Fett, Yoda, Lando Calrissian, and many others. It's the collection of the entire Empire Strikes Back storyline in one volume, and then it was later split up to be reprinted in single comic issue form for the main Star Wars title. Now, I know everyone's focused on the single issue, which is number 42, but this magazine-sized comic is well worth picking up, especially for the price. Purists will no doubt shy away due to the size, but as a fan of Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back, it's definitely on my want list. Chronologically, this is the first appearance, and much like other situations where a character first appears in a magazine form and then we see a more iconic version appear in single issue, those who are fans are going to want to pick this one up, and I think that this one also is undervalued for what it is. Right now in the current market, it may not be as heavily valued as the single issue, but it is a very valuable, big book in my opinion, because this is just one of the ways that they did things at that point. Now note for this is make sure that you're getting the original though. as Dark Horse did release a reprint, which was very similar to the original. It has the original cover art, and it has the original title masthead, but the differences are that the reprint does not have the Marvel Super Special magazine printed in yellow on the top front cover, and it doesn't have the price on the front printed in white either. So that's a quick way to tell. And then also another one that I won't show here, but you should know, is that on the spine of the reprint, it is it does say Dark Horse, that it's a Dark Horse publication as opposed to the original Marvel one. And the binding is, I think, is also different on them. Yeah, because I have the Dark Horse reprint, but I don't have the magazine. I should have picked up the copy that I came across a few weeks ago. So that's been my list for the top 10 Boba Fett comics that you should be picking up right now. As always, make sure to like, comment, hit that notification bell, and consider subscribing to the channel. If you comment, I'd love to hear what you think of this list. As you know, the promise I always make is that if you take the time to comment, I will take the time to type out a response and give you whatever my feedback is according to your comment. Thanks so much for tuning in again. Thanks so much for all those who are subscribers. I promise the giveaway video announcement is coming very, very soon. It's right around the corner. I'm still picking out all the different giveaways that we're going to do. But we are now on the road to 500 subscribers. So please consider sharing this video as well. If you think that there's stuff of value in this video, if there's people that you know, or Facebook groups, or other group chats where you think, hey, let's listen to what this guy has to say and let's consider it, please by all means share it. I would love it if you would do so. So as always, thank you for allowing me to come in and share about my passion for the hobby through these lists with you on this Friday night. Feel free to tune in again, but I'm excited every time I get to share these videos with you, and I can't wait until the next time that we get to hang out. So stay tuned.